launched into fighting each other.
Wow.
All over reputations, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reputations and one more thing.
Who's right?
One more thing.
Money.
Money, right. Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce was absolutely panic-stricken over all the evidence that Dr. Cheney come up with. And they started writing in the newspapers, look what they've done. They've made Lake Tahoe ground zero for a new disease. This is ruining us. People were canceling reservations.
Wow.
The people that would normally come up to Lake Tahoe on weekends or for skiing, they weren't coming. It was a ghost town. They just about rolled up the sidewalks and closed down the town. Businesses, about 1 out of 6 businesses went bankrupt.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know any of this.
They laid off everybody they could. All the casinos were only kept open with the skeleton crew. I mean, they just closed up shop, and Lake Tahoe was absolutely paralyzed.
This
going
was
bankrupt.
over a span of 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, about 1 year.
Were there newspaper articles coming out periodically, about one every week, month?
Yeah.
That just kept getting out, like the SAC B probably came out with one.
Yeah, I've got a whole stack of them.
Oh, so they do have a lot of articles over that 3 year period. So that's why the City of Commerce, well, I would imagine they would want to squash this.
Yeah.
Because, well, it's destroying their city's commerce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they formed an action committee to try to do something about this. And they launched a campaign to reassure people that it was safe to come back to Lake Tahoe. But of course, that was all undermined if Dr. Cheney's evidence proved to be true. So what could they do? They used their political influence to put pressure on the CDC to trivialize the outbreak in some manner so that it wouldn't look like Incline Village was ground zero for some killer new disease.
Which is why they just simply called it chronic fatigue syndrome.
Exactly.
Because that sounds quite not so bad.
Exactly.
Nondescript.
Yeah.
Fatigue isn't so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we all get fatigued, right?
Mm-hmm. The Holmes Committee had, when they finally said, well, yeah, the evidence is compelling, we have to do something about this, we can't just ignore it. I mean, that would be very non-scientific to just have all this evidence and act like it doesn't exist. So we have to do something, but what can we do? Well, they're one of the authors of the Epstein-Barr virus monologue, or the abstract that Dr. Peterson read about. Well, he was kind of upset that his hypothesis had been undermined, and he was the mastermind of a new plan to trivialize the syndrome. He's basically in the Holmes Committee going, give it to me. It's a fatigue syndrome. I will study fatigue in all its forms. And that's what they were complaining about. We'll call it chronic fatigue syndrome. They had half a dozen names.
So he came up with the name.
Right. They had a half a dozen names under consideration. Myalgic encephalomyelitis was one of them.
That one sounds horrible.
Well,
that one sounds like I don't want to get anywhere near that place.
That was off the table like right away.
So that one just from the common mind, I can see it.
Yeah, well, the very few doctors that were conversant with myalgic encephalomyelitis said, well, this is a classic outbreak of ME here. There's really nothing unusual about it. If you look at the historic ME outbreaks of the past, like the Royal Free Hospital, which is the one that ME was based on, this is very much the same thing. It had the same demographic. It hit the healthy people and not the sick. It moved in much the same way. It lingered for about a year. This is ME. We'll call it ME. Well, there were a couple problems with that. For one thing, the Chamber of Commerce wasn't about to accept it. For another thing, Dr. Cheney had all kinds of new evidence that wasn't known in ME.
Different symptoms, you mean?
No.
Or different
new
what?
evidence, like the B cell.
Well, these are
findings,
new tests.
The new testing, right? So if you were going to try to say, well, this is the same as ME, how do you reconcile the fact that you've got new evidence that isn't known in the historic ME literature?
Yeah.
So
It very well may be,
you
right?
need a provisional name while you work it out to find out if the old ME patients fit the new evidence.
Yeah.
And this is what the chronic fatigue syndrome was coined for. It was a provisional syndrome with a stupid name that was supposed to allow researchers to find out if this fit myalgic encephalomyelitis. But Stephen Strauss's plan to trivialize the disease worked so well that doctors immediately accepted the idea that this was nothing. It was just chronic fatigue. And when the CDC saw that this was falling, the investigation was falling flat, they go, fine, let it be. And they never corrected it. They never did the study to find out if this had been an ME outbreak or not.